So this is going to be an interesting video. This is going to be my rendition of the speech I would give a close friend if they came to me in a time of extreme need and said, Matt, I don't have a job. I don't have any source of income at all. I want to do what you do. I want to be able to generate income for myself in the short, medium, and long term by reselling used clothing. This is what I would tell them. And I feel like this is kind of like what every reselling video should be. This is my elevator pitch for reselling clothing specifically. I'm a clothing reseller for the most part. I do some other stuff. I do books. I do a little bit of electronics and DVDs, etc. I will also offer a proviso, which is I have moderate success when it comes to being a full-time reseller. There are people that make way more money than me. There are people that have been doing this for longer than I have. There are people who may be able to offer you more shining, multifaceted gems of wisdom than I can. This is just what I would tell someone that I cared about if they came to me right now at this moment in time. So I will begin by saying the most important thing that you need to think about is your time commitment to reselling and your work ethic. And the enormously complicated equation of input to output when it comes to reselling of the things that you need to pay attention to and know about and do as a reseller to get the result of the money. The most important thing is consistency and is just simply hard work. And I'm not one of these chest-beating Gary Vaynerchuk, the hustle, the grind hustle is everything guys. I'm not that guy, but for better or for worse, I can report from experience that if you don't have the consistent effort when it comes to reselling, you do not get the result. The equation to reselling is time plus intelligence, time plus good judgment, but the time is more important. Your success will follow from consistent work ethic. My advice, as somebody who is lazy, who does not have the work ethic, is this. Figure out what works for you in your life, your time budget, in terms of hours per day that you can spend listing, and stick to that number daily. So before my neck pain flared up really bad, I was doing 8 hours a day, consistently, 7 days a week. And that's what precipitated this big blow up of my symptoms to where I had to take a big step back from my business model. But that might not be you. Hopefully it's not you. Hopefully you can actually sustain that. If you can sit at a computer for 8 hours and type without feeling like your body is going to explode, then list for 8 hours. Set a timer on your phone. Set a stopwatch timer, and every time you take a break from that 8 hours, hit pause. Every time you come back, hit start. Make sure that you get the 8 hours. If you do that 5 days in a row, it will not be a chore for you. It will not be a problem. That was the case for me. I yearn to go back to that. I really wish that I could go back because that's when I made the big boy bucks. That's when I made the good money, was when I was listing for 8 hours a day for like 10, 15, 20 days in a row. I was kicking ass. Let's talk about the sourcing side, because you have to source the right things. There are people who come into my comments who criticize my business model as being unrealistic because I'm a cherry picker, I'm a treasure hunter. I source clothing that is in exceptionally high demand and has good margins, which people perceive as being unrealistically kind of pie in the sky inventory to get. And I'm telling you, as somebody who has been doing this for a while, that's not the case. It may not be the case for you if you don't live in a city where people have a lot of money to throw around and burn and make rain in the world. I live in San Diego, so Southern California, you may have heard, has a high cost of living. So I have that consistently on hand as a resource, meaning that I can find stuff that is in way over 100% demand, meaning the actives and the solds on eBay are at least equal, or the solds are greater than the actives. If you're sourcing at a retail thrift, you may be able to find these kinds of things. Certain brands or certain items within brands will meet these criteria where you can be fairly well assured that you can sell that thing within 3 months, because the eBay numbers are calculated in terms of the sold listings over 90 days. So if you are looking at a shirt, for example, like let's say I found an Arc'teryx, which is one of my favorite brands, shirt in the thrift for $7, and I looked it up. Arc'teryx, I wouldn't have to look it up because I would know off the top of my head that it was worth picking up, but let's say I found it cold. I'd never seen this brand before, Arc'teryx. I looked it up and the number said there were 300 men's Arc'teryx medium button-up shirts active for sale, and there were 900 solds, which is roughly accurate for this brand. I would know that I would be able to sell that shirt if I priced it even remotely close to reasonably within a month, within 30 days. So I like to aim for that kind of stuff where I know that I at least stand a good chance of selling it within 90 days. That's when I'm shopping from retail thrifts. So if you don't have other opportunities available to you, if all you have are Goodwill or Salvation Army or Savers, storefronts, the retail thrift stores where they price stuff at $5 or up, I would recommend that you do that. I would recommend that you focus on the stuff that people really, really want, that you know you can stand to make a good profit on. And that is what I would say to somebody who is in desperate straits, is go to Goodwill if you insist on doing it with clothing, which I think is doable, and focus on the stuff that's a home run, meaning it's like an 8 out of 10. That's generally my standard. It has to be an 8 out of 10, meaning the condition is good to very good to excellent to like new to new with tags. The margin is there, meaning I can spend $7 on it, and after all the eBay fees and shipping and all that, I can still at least double my money. I would say like a $7 shirt, I don't know, double my money, I don't know, that's my standard. I would say like earn the same amount of money as you spent on it. So if I spend $7 on a shirt, I want to be able to make at least $7 or whatever. It's really the reliability of the profits that matters to me. Even having said all of that, if I spend $7 on, let's say it's an Arc'teryx shirt, and I know for a fact that it's going to sell, which it will because it's Arc'teryx, and that's a phenomenal hole-in-one brand that is going to sell immediately. Or let's say it's Vuori. Vuori is another one that is like effortless, no-brainer, like you cannot mess it up brand. If I get a $7 Vuori t-shirt, even if it sells for like 20, 25 bucks, which it probably won't, it will probably sell for more than that. But let's say I want to underprice the market and just sell it at 20 bucks. If I spend $7, sell it for 20, and pocket maybe around $5 after all the fees and shipping, maybe a little bit less actually, I would still be okay with that because I would know that there would be a guaranteed return on investment of my time and money. And that's what I would say you should focus on. For someone who is desperate, hard up for income, I would say focus on the highly in-demand, no-brainer, high profit margin items, which if you don't know what those are, I have a free / pay what you want digital product available in the description called the Menswear Manifesto. That is a breakdown of 200.5 roughly men's clothing brands broken down by category. So like shirts, t-shirts, pants, shorts, swimwear, etc. Like brand by brand by brand. It was collated about half a year ago, like a few months ago. So the seasonality is not like totally up to date, but in terms of the names of the brands, that will be very valuable to you as a new clothing reseller. That will get you started. That will point you in the right direction. So if you want that knowledge, it's available to you for free. If you think that you're gonna get money out of it, which you probably will, consider giving me a small to medium to extraordinarily large donation for that. And that's available through the Gumroad user interface. Just follow the link, it'll make sense to you. Just give me whatever you want for it, or circle around and pay me back later. Focus on that stuff, or focus on reducing your cost of goods to rock bottom. Figure out how you can get bulk clothing for next to no money. It is probably possible. If you put in the effort to figure out how to get this stuff, you can probably find it. It's not going to be like obviously readily available to you necessarily. The Goodwill bins are an excellent place to start. I would also look at OfferUp. Look at people donating clothes out on the curb. Look at contacting thrift stores to buy their unsorted backlog of donations. A lot of them just don't want to deal with it themselves, and they'll give it to you for free, or they'll sell it to you at way cheap in bulk. Or think about vintage wholesalers or whatever. You have to think outside the box a little bit to get the stuff for really cheap. Ask friends and family. Like, this is an underrated piece of advice. Figure out social contacts that will give you stuff for free. Not necessarily just clothing, although that's a pretty easy pitch. Like, if you're gonna donate the stuff anyway, just give it to me. Most people are more than happy to give it to you, or give it to you on a commission basis, which, you know, if you're a new reseller, you should play ball with that. Just get the stuff for pennies. Like, get it for 50 cents or less per item, and then just prosecute the fuck out of your work ethic. Just list it all. Just list for hours and hours and hours. Put it all up on the internet. List it on eBay. List it on Poshmark. In terms of clothing, those are the two heavy hitters. A lot of people list on Mercari as well. I don't have any experience with it. I'm sure it's probably a good opportunity. I can't speak to Mercari. I can speak to eBay and Poshmark, both of which have a lot of bullshit that go along with them, because that's how the world works. You should be willing to undergo whatever headache it is you have to go through to learn whatever platform it is to sell the stuff that you need to sell to get the profit. I will say eBay templates, so figure out how to make like a basic template for having the necessary information that you need in the description, plus fill out as many of those variable like drop menu items as you can in the template, so that you have something like that you can just click on and have most like a good deal of your work done for you. That's how I list. Some people sell similar and they claim that that's much faster, so I would look into that. That's not how I list. There may be a faster way to list than how I list, and that would be the way, is selling similar based off of your own inventory, is my impression. Do that. And in terms of Poshmark, cross-list off of eBay. You don't need cross-listing software. I don't use it. But I have read in books on Minecraft that Poshmark bots are the way to go, and it will cut your effort down by like 75, 80, 90%, will quadruple, quintuple your profits on Poshmark. And if you don't use a bot, so I hear on the streets, on these mean streets, you're shafting yourself out of a lot of money, and Poshmark appears to be turning a blind eye. This is all just secondhand scuttlebutt hearsay that I get through the grapevine. I strictly condemn Poshmark bots. I strictly condemn people that cut corners and break the rules, because rules are very important. Rules are set by God. It's very critical as a reseller to not give yourself crucial advantages that are often free or pay for themselves. Don't do that. That is the advice that I would give to somebody who says, I need money now and later, and I want to do it with used clothing. There are other ways to do money Obviously, especially with reselling, you can sell anything. I would say if you're a new reseller, if you're interested in clothing, as a clothing seller, I am biased towards it because I think that it has a lot of advantages. Anything that you can find in a thrift store, you can repeat this with. I would urge you to focus on sell-through, margins, and your own effort level and buy-in. That is the big deal. If you are not for real about doing this, you are going to get an awakening of some kind. It's not, you have to be into it. You have to be into the perversion of the good find and the good sale and the profit margin. You have to be a pervert. You have to want the money. You have to want the flip. You have to be turned on by this whole process, not just part of the process, not just the buy. You have to be turned on by the sale itself. If you want to do clothing, I urge you again, check out the Menswear Manifesto. Women's clothing is a whole other world. I know a little bit about it, not as much as men's clothing. That's my wheelhouse, my specialty. That's what I can really help you with the most. So if you're curious about men's clothing, I will say it's like easier. There are fewer brands, there's fewer categories of clothing to know about, there's fewer keywords that you have to know, even though there are like a lot. It's not as confusing, it's not as chaotic. If you sell women's clothing, consider pivoting to men's clothing, at least part-time, at least learning about it, because I think you will be pleasantly surprised by how much easier it is than women's clothing. If you feel like supporting this channel, buy the Menswear Manifesto, but also if you want to support me in my dirtbag lifestyle, I have an Amazon wish list that's available. If for some reason you want to buy me some stuff, I do not expect you to, but there's a link in the Amazon, a link in the description to the Amazon link.